Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of your favorite Ravens YouTube channel and podcast, Talking Ravens all day, every day, with your host, Justin P. This is episode 26 for the YouTube channel, and for the audio version, it's season one, episode 28. All the available links are in the description at the bottom below. So, I don't got to run them down to you. You can literally see them. Today got a special guest, another guy who does a lot of Ravens podcast work. Man, he's well known. Man, he's been on Engraving Vids, Kevin Ostriker show, Locked on Ravens. Man, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Ken Mckusick. Did I say that right, Ken?
Close enough. But thanks for having me on, Justin. Really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. His links are in the description, and then I'm gonna go ahead and let him tell him a little, get into more about what he's got going on.
I am at Film Study Ravens on Twitter. If you want to find me there, my website is filmstudybaltimore.com. You'll find a lot of very heavy content podcasts, meaning it's very technical. Some people like it, some people don't. But if you're into that kind of thing, it's something you could get used to over time. Offensive line scoring is kind of my signature thing that I do every week. Also do a lot of analysis of the defense in various ways in terms of the packages and what they run.
Yeah, man, great stuff. I've listened to a few of his podcast episodes. It's good stuff, man. He has various, legends like Jonathan Ogden. He breakdowns with former players. It's definitely check it out, man. Ken knows what he's talking about. But before we get into all the football stuff, let's just give our thoughts and prayers to Damar Hamlin and his family and the Bills organization. It's been some good news. He says he's responsive. He is able to grab his loved one's hands, and he also wrote a note asking who won the game. So that's a great news. I know that's been on everybody's mind and hearts. So I just wanted to say that before we get into the actual football stuff.
And he only had to write a note because they had a breathing tube in him. So it's not like he can only communicate by writing at this point, which would be potentially could be a problem too. But it is very good news in terms of him asking about the result of the game.
Absolutely. So yeah, y'all keep his family and Bills organization, keep them in your prayers, dog the day. All right, week 18. Both teams have clinched the playoff spot. Essentially, we probably can't win the North now due to the postpone or the canceling of the game, which is okay. Nobody's really talking about that due to the current events we just explained. But just going into this matchup, just give me your thoughts on like how the Ravens going to play this? Like by both teams having the playoff season, do we sit guys? Do we play them? Like what's the move here in your eyes from John Harbaugh?
I might be behind you a little bit in terms of what I know. Has there been an official announcement by the NFL the Bills and Bengals will not be resumed, or is the speculation I saw on Twitter this morning?
Don't quote me on this. From what I saw
Mm-hmm.
on Schefter's Twitter thing, said it's going to be too hard to make that game up with the week 18 and then the playoffs. So from what I saw, yeah, they're just going to go in and just cancel it. From what I saw.
Okay, well, if that's the case, and certainly the Ravens, it's only fair that the Ravens and the Bills and the Bengals and the Chiefs, for that matter, know what's going on before the games are played this weekend. My view of it was that if the Chiefs had won on Saturday, that it would probably force the NFL to reschedule the game and have the alternating AFC NFC playoff weeks we talked about.
Right.
That would make that the Bengals and Bills game be one that would be played during the NFC playoff week, the NFC wildcard week. And I thought that would have been a really good solution. Gives the NFL 5 straight weeks of playoffs, which is really nice for TV. And for a lot of reasons, I think it would be good for the league to do it that way. Also, there's a lot of value to completing seasons that you're playing, and be able to say, hey, we played every game as scheduled for 54 years or however long it might be. To be able to do that is a very positive thing. But obviously, these circumstances we're on uncharted territory here. It was completely appropriate to suspend that game when they did. I think we could agree on that, Justin, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now we just have to deal with what happens. And, given the disruption, there's always going to be winners and losers. And I think this is not the time to worry about whether your team is a loser or not, whether you're a Ravens fan or even whether you're a Buffalo fan and you might have lost the most. This is a time to worry about, just making the best of a bad situation, moving on from here and trying to do it. And it does mean the Ravens have probably lost their chance for a home playoff game. And I think this weekend it probably does change how the Ravens approach this game. I think they'll sit a lot of players, despite what John Harbaugh says. I think that Tyler Huntley is likely to sit. Now, probably will be the backup for the game, but I expect Anthony Brown to get significant playing time in this game. The collection of injuries to Huntley has been pretty significant, and as much as he's not the perfect answer, they need him for the rest of the playoffs. So, however long that is, and I think that they'll want to make sure he's preserved. Other players like Campbell and Peters, I think there's a reduced chance that they'll return this week. I don't see any chance that Lamar Jackson returns this week. So we're left still in a little bit of a holding pattern with that. But that would be my feeling about it, is that they'll probably sit a lot of players this week.
I agree, Ken. Because like you said, because essentially now it's a meaningless game for both teams. The Bengals are going to be pinched in as the North champions. The Ravens, only thing we can do is move up either to the 5 or to the 6. At this point, would it matter? Probably so. Yeah, we probably be able to go see Jacksonville. See a first, a rookie, first time quarterback in the playoffs. Okay, see rookie, excuse me. Or versus saying the Bengals again back to back week, somebody who's familiar with us. So if you want to look at it from that aspect, yeah, I get it. But at the same time, like you said, due to the circumstances, it's just we gotta let the chips fall where they may right now. And I agree with you. I think Tyler Huntley's gonna, they're gonna rest him, like you said, because he's definitely gonna be pivotal. Because like I said, Lamar, we all can assume he's going to be back for the playoffs. We don't know for sure. Like we haven't got any, headlines, or we haven't talked to any doctors or anything. So right now we can do is speculate he'll be ready. So we definitely need Huntley, for the playoffs regardless. Because like I said, if Lamar don't go, it's his show again. Like you said, then Calais Campbell, Marcus Peters, those guys, by them being older. So, they're going to need that extra week to rest, because, you get older at a certain age, injuries tend to linger a little longer. I just want to see how they're going to do with the running backs with JK and Gus, by them both coming off injuries and getting injured again, and stuff like that. How they're going to monitor their carries and their playing time. Will we see Kenyon Drake back? I haven't seen him in a couple weeks. I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know if he's in the doghouse. I don't. You probably would know a little bit more than that.
I'm not aware that he's hurt. I think he's been a healthy scratch, and he's a guy who definitely could be used this week, no doubt about it. And Justice Hill in for 17 snaps this last week, didn't get a single touch. I thought that was probably a mistake in terms of him being a guy who could help the Ravens on the outside, whether it means a short pass or a run out of jet motion or whatever it might have been. That was probably a missed opportunity. I think it's a both Edwards and Dobbins. There's been evidence that they're not at 100%. Maybe I'd say that less about Edwards. Dobbins left a lot of yards on the field. So I think having him, as well as he's played, he's been unbelievable making cuts at the line of scrimmage. And the first 10 yards of every run look fantastic. I'd still say his long speed is not where it needs to be. And if he could sit another week, it'd be a good thing.
I totally agree. Because like you said, we're going to need them in the playoffs, especially since the passing game hasn't been up to par to our liking. So we're definitely going to have we're going to have a game like we had against the Patriots in 2009 when we went there. Ray Rice busted a long touchdown run, and the defense played phenomenal. Joe didn't really do much that game. He had like 40 or 50 yards passing into my regulation.
He was 4 of 10 for 39 yards in that game.
Absolutely, so. I was in the right ballpark. Yeah, so I defense dominated the game, the run game. So that's how we're going to have to play. Can we win a Super Bowl playing like that? Probably not, because the game is more advanced and the rule changes and stuff like that. So you're going to have to throw the football to have some success in the postseason, as we're seeing now and then before. So we'll see how that goes as far as play calling and stuff like that. We all know Greg Roman. He's been on everybody's naughty list as far as that.
Mm-hmm.
So I can definitely see them resting some guys and just getting the younger guys like Anthony Brown and all them guys reps, so that way they can have some experience for them.
Wait, Justin, what do you think about the notion that bringing Brown in is not only an opportunity in Week 18, but also an audition for a possible playoff push? If to me, I'll go first here and let you compose, as you're thinking. But if they can't trust Huntley to go after some play action throws, is that with the Steelers playing these massive jumbo fronts against them in the last game, it's time to move on. It has to be a different quarterback doing it. Now, some of that's play calling, but honestly, I think the play calling really came down to trust in Huntley to reacquire the field after turning his back to it. Don't know where Brown is exactly with play action, but in the preseason, he certainly looks like he has a big arm and a fairly accurate arm down the field.
I completely agree, Ken. I watched him at Oregon. He definitely can fling it. Like I said in preseason, man, Demarcus Robinson first game here, he had a monster game, and Anthony Brown was throwing the ball to him. It's preseason, I get it. You're going against guys who probably not going to be on the team, and et cetera, et
Mm-hmm.
cetera. Still, some productivity is better than nothing. So we seen he can spin it when need to. And I've been saying it once Lamar get down. I said it myself. I said I'd rather go with Anthony Brown. Tyler Huntley shows some flashes. And now that teams have film on him, they know how to defend him. Like he can't throw the. In my opinion, he can't push the ball more than 10 yards down the field. So it's like that's why Mark Andrews is always like getting at them. He's like, hey man, throw the ball. I'm open. Like, and then finally Sunday, that was his best game throwing to Mark Andrews. But I completely agree, Ken. I said go ahead and let Anthony Brown play and see what you got. It can't be no worse than what Tyler Hunt.
Yeah, I mean, and you hope for some variance. You hope for a player who could really help you out there. But the Ravens are going to have to. I mean, as much as people I know are on Greg Roman right now, and I don't think there's any chance he'll be back with the Ravens next year for a number of reasons. It's a complex political thing where Harbaugh would really have to put all his chips in the pile to keep him. I think in the pot, I'd say. But beyond that, the Ravens, have had a very good offensive coordinator here for several years who's overseen this Jackson area. I hope people appreciate how good Roman was in terms of leading that 2019 offense and the 20 offense as well. But beyond that, the Ravens need Greg Roman to get them through any playoff run they might be able to make that combines what they can do offensively with this team as a running game and who they are defensively and their opportunity to create any kind of an opportunity to win on that side of the ball.
Great. Let's talk about these wide receivers of ours. What are your expectations for them? Not only for Week 18, more so heading to the playoffs.
I'd like to see Deshaun Jackson do some meaningful field stretching. I think for that to happen, you can't have the opponent saying, I don't think you can throw it to him anyway. So we're gonna put man coverage on him, and you do the best you can. I think Deshaun Jackson needs to be able to draw the safety's attention to be of really make room underneath level 2 and 3 for the tight ends on this team. Isaiah Likely and Likely, Kolar, all four of them really, Andrews and Oliver, all should be able to go off if the speedy receivers are doing what they need to do. Watkins is not that kind of a receiver. He's not going to take the top off the defense, so it really has to be Deshaun Jackson. And there's a real question about how many snaps he could play and be effective in a game.
I agree. Like you said, Deshaun Jackson, yeah, he's a little longer in the tooth, 36 years old, but he's still shown he can get behind DB still, even at his, elder age. Take some shots. If nothing else, teams are going to back up and not load the box with 9 or 10 man fronts because they coming in. We got to stop the run. That's what the Ravens are going to try to get off the bus running the football. So we got to negate that. When you take shots downfield, it now it backs guys up, it backs those safeties and corners up. Now they give J.K. Gus and Justice Hill and even Kenyon Drake whenever they use him running lane. So yeah, I agree. And then you got, like I said, you got and Andy Isabella, another guy who's a fast guy. You can use him same way you use Devin Duvernay, jet sweep, quick screens. You could take deep shots to him as well. And then, like you said, you got Sammy Watkins, savvy vet. He's not a super burner, but he can get deep if you don't account for him. We've seen it against the Falcons, that big 40-yard catch. And then, like you said, you got James Prochet, the slot guy. He can get open. It's just a matter of just opportunities. Like when you keep going with these heavy personnel, 3 tight ends, 1 receiver, it's like it shrinks everything for us. And now
Oh yeah.
makes it easy to defend. We need to see more 2 and 3 wide receiver sets, man. Just spread the field open a little bit more. Everything is too tight and condensed.
The Ravens are a point of attack football team. So, this weekend they got the ultimate all-in call from the Steelers because every time they put 22 on the field, there were maybe one or two exceptions. The Steelers responded with a 6-2-3 defense effectively. 4 down linemen, 2 outside linebackers, all at the line of scrimmage, 2 inside linebackers, and then only 3 defensive backs. There's no National Football League team that uses that defense in anything but goal line situations, typically goal line and short yardage. They don't do it on first down, and there are exceptions to that. I should be careful here. They'll do it if they know the other team has to run the ball to maintain a lead. So if they're in the final 6 minutes of a football game, yeah, you might see that either 6-2-3 or 4-4-3, whatever you want to call it, in a game to try and stop you. But it's a very unusual defense, and I've never, in 50 years of watching football, relative to the football of the era, I've never seen more of an extreme run prevention defense presented by any team. It was the strangest thing I think I've ever seen for them to come out in jumbo on first down to start the game.
Yeah. I basically say they're playing us in a Pop Warner defense. Like that's the rec league. I've been coaching rec football for a long time, so those are defenses you see. Those in those levels of football, like you don't see nobody playing in NFL, like you said, besides goal line or besides like if like you just said, team time, run the ball, or run the clock out to maintain the lead. Like then it should click on a Greg Roman, man. Let me spread them out and throw the football. Or if you want to run the ball, spread them out. At least take the outside linebackers off the box and create running lanes. But when you come out with 3 tight ends and 1 receiver, you're playing to the strength of the defense because there's only 1 receiver out there. They only got 3. You got 3 DBs, so it's like you're running into a brick wall. Like you have to be able to spread the field open to give you guys a chance to make plays. So I completely agree. It was definitely unorthodox and weird to see that. I was like, man, it was something like the Chargers did Lamar's rookie year when they had
Yes.
Derwin James and all them playing linebacker the whole entire game, just sitting on the run. Then second half, of course, while I was being down, then they went into 2-minute pass. Then we got ourselves back into the game a little bit. But we have to open up the offense.
A very similar game, and even though very different strategy, because the Chargers went light. They went with 7 DBs to stop Lamar in that 2018 playoff game. And, this game, the Steelers went super heavy. And they even, they've got 2 high-round draft pick inside linebackers on the team, Devin Bush and Miles Jack. They took them off the field. Those guys played 5 and 6 snaps. And they played a couple of run defending inside linebackers in Robinson and Spillane. Yeah. So really just an unfathomable, unexpected thing. Harbaugh said some things about they expected to see this run. Well, no, they didn't. If they did, they would have had a good reaction for it. So they would have had play action. One thing that I've hypothesized might have been a good choice would be to put Ben Cleveland on the field as a 6th offensive lineman. Cleveland destroyed their guys, and Cam Hayward some in the game, and he's their best lineman, obviously. But put him on as a 6th offensive lineman, whether you have to tuck him inside the tackle or play him on the outside, and let him punish this a little bit. Or you go to play action and you use your tight ends, which are your biggest assets anyway. Open up the middle of the field with the turning your back and going with play action, and you're going to have all kinds of passing opportunities. But either way, staying with what they had didn't really make a lot of sense. And the notion that they saw it coming all the way is just complete crap based on the response they gave.
I completely agree. Like you gotta, if you're gonna play action, go over the top. Like I said, you got the Marcus Robinson who's been solid. You could, if he's 1-on-1, take your shot to him, man. But you just can't just keep running into a brick wall. It's not good. Let's talk about this defensive line play. But more so, like I said, 'cause I know week 18 is really, it's basically is both teams are in. You're going to see a lot of them starters rested. That's more so just geared towards the playoffs. How do you think they're going to hold up in a run after saying them getting bullied against Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh did a lot of things to establish the run that were very specific in this game, and honestly, they did a good job of, I think, confusing McDonald in terms of what he could try and do. But they played some pony backfield, were very effective with that, with Warren being used in jet motion. So he was effective on those plays. We saw Najee Harris be as effective as he's ever been against the Ravens in this game. Very patient running. They used a lot of the Ravens techniques to use combination blocks on the inside. They got up very effectively, blocked whoever they wanted. I have a list in the article. I'll just plug this really quickly. When I go to the defensive article, this is the kind of thing you get: a list of the 15 runs the Steelers had of 6+ yards, and exactly who got blocked as the key lead blocks on those plays. And what you find out is it's a whole bunch of different people, but it wasn't a lot of blocks on the edge on Odafe Owe in particular. He did not get named. Matabike's in there like 7 times. Other players are in there a number of times. So people you would expect who play a lot of snaps on rundowns. And basically all of them got beaten. None of them had a wartless game in terms of what happened there. But it was a lot of did a lot of little things very well. One of the things they did is something I'd like to see more out of the Ravens is on a 3rd and 1 play, they played hurry up. They got to the line of scrimmage. The Ravens had a nickel defense on the field with only 2 down linemen, and they went ahead and ran a quarterback sneak before the Ravens could change personnel. That's the kind of thing the Ravens need to be able to do, which means with whoever their quarterback is, get that play in quickly, get to the line of scrimmage quickly, and then run what you're going to run without letting the opponent change.
I agree. Like I said, yeah, the this D line, where you can tell they're missing Calais Campbell. Like I get his
Mm-hmm.
numbers. I think he's not the pass rusher he once was, but he still is an asset in stopping the run, man.
Mm-hmm.
Especially run things. Uh, Justin Matabike's playing his butt off for the most part. Roger Washington has gotten better. Travis Jones playing more snaps, and Brent Urban's, is getting more playing time. But Pittsburgh basically just played old school football. Said, man on a man. We're getting you off the ball. Then they got to the second level and got their hands on the linebacker. That's why you're seeing so many big runs. So it's hard for a linebacker to make a tackle when the guard is in his face every single
Mm-hmm.
play. Every linebacker hates seeing offensive lineman come second level. Like it just makes your job completely different. And like you said, they kept rotating Najee Harris, Jalen Warren. He was getting catches on out the backfield, stuff like that. That also hurt us like on 3rd down. But me personally, Jacksonville, they run. I don't know if they run. That's who I would rather see, to be honest. I don't know if they run the football as well as everybody do. Trevor Etienne definitely is a stud, but I think we'll be okay against them versus like a Cincinnati or somebody like that with Joe Mixon and stuff like that. But we definitely got to clean up this run defense.
Yeah,
Uh,
very concerned, but that other teams now know from what Pittsburgh has shown them is that there's a blueprint on the table for how to beat the Ravens in terms of the run game on offense, but also how to beat the Ravens defensively by playing very heavy fronts, and they can't really do anything against it.
all right, the edge rushers heading into the playoffs. Just give me your thoughts and expectations on those guys.
I mean, it is a good group, generally speaking. I mean, the Ravens have done well at that position. It's been a good enough group that David Ajabo has been kept, on the inactive list for most of the season. I've just been in for 1 snap now on defense. We'll see. I'm pretty sure we'll see more of him in Week 18 here. But it's a group that is one of the real strengths of the team, and it started the season as one of the real weaknesses. Without Bowser, they were having to play Owe at Sam linebacker. He was a fish out of water there. And playing both Owe and Houston a tremendous number of snaps with whoever else they could get healthy on a game-by-game basis. And the names of the players are going to be some of the most obscure Ravens of all time: to Copeland and Ada Ochu and Devon Kennard and all these people who made an appearance for the Ravens this year are some of the real obscure Ravens in history.
I agree. Like you said, now it's more depth. Beginning of the year, we were thin there. It was on a Daffy way. Who else we had out there? Before we got JPP, we had Daffy Owe. We had like 3 guys active.
Yeah.
Like,
Owe, Houston, and oftentimes it was one no name: Stephen Means, Ada Ochu, all these guys.
So we basically had little to no depth. Now we're getting it down. JPP is added now. You get the Bronco. Like you said, now Jabo's back, Bowser's back. The pass rush has been a little bit better. But Sunday, Kenny Pickett, I think he maybe got sacked maybe one time on a blitz. But Kenny Pickett, when I kept saying Kenny Pickett roll out every time Ken and nobody was putting him on the ground, it was like, that's a problem for me. Like, at least force him to make some errant throws. He just was saying like he was comfortable the whole night, in my opinion. And that could be a problem going against Trevor, against any of the quarterbacks in the playoffs. Because now in the playoffs, you're playing the best of the best quarterbacks. You're not going to play Desmond Ritter and those, rookies or backup guys. You're going to play Pro Bowl caliber quarterbacks. So we definitely got to get home, man, because it makes everybody's job easier. Then down the secondary, who we'll talk about in a second. Then I've got to sit there and cover guys for 10 and 12 seconds. So definitely, they got to win their one-on-one matchups.
Yeah, I agree. Pick the game with Pickett. He didn't really play that well overall. The other thing, yeah, statistically, but what really was bothersome is that when the Ravens were winning in terms of pressure, they would force him to roll left, and he still made some really good throws rolling left. And if fans of Joe Flacco, fans of the Ravens in general, understand and appreciate the difference between what Flacco gives you and what Jackson gives you when forced to roll left. Now, no right-handed quarterback likes to do it, generally speaking, because you got to throw back, you got almost no leverage to get your throw off properly, and you have to reset your feet. Well, if you're Jackson, you're quick enough to do it. If you're Mahomes, you turn your body and you work magic. If you're Joe Flacco, you move around like Frankenstein, and you better just throw the ball out of bounds at that point. And with Pickett, I really hope that flushing him left would have made a big difference, but it didn't in this game. He had some big throws after rolling left, which including the one that really won the game. Yeah, it was the one that won the game. The touchdown pass that won the game was a 10-yard throw after Jason Pierre-Paul missed the sack and he rolled left.
Yeah, he had him did the rights. Kenny got out and hit Najee Harris for a touchdown. I was there. I was like, oh my God, yeah. I was like, yeah, but this is not good going into the postseason. All right, let's talk about the linebackers. Just adding Roquan Smith, this core has looked a lot better. Just give me just your expectations on those guys heading into January football, as we all know.
Strength of the team, they've got to hope that can carry them in a lot of ways. Queen is very important to this team as the one guy who can generate a lot of quick pressure, and they're going to need to start with some of that. The Ravens are an excellent cleanup team in terms of sacks, and I think that getting Queen in there to blitz as often as possible is probably good. Obviously, doesn't. It's also a factor that Queen's coverage abilities are still not the best of the linebackers. Roquan's been a great downhill player. He's been in the right gap at the right time, and we got to see that continue as well. So they're that's the strength of the team right now. It's a lot of people would say it's not really the right way to go in terms of how you build your franchise, to be paying a ton of money at inside linebacker, but that's what they have right now, and they got to leverage that into something if they're going to make a playoff run of any sort.
I agree, Ken. Outside of Sunday, they have been playing very well. Sunday, like you said, by the defensive line getting manhandled, it made their jobs hard. So you've seen a lot of big runs, but like I said, Roquan still was making tackles. Queen, my thing with Queen is he just plays a little too fast, like he over pursues,
Mm-hmm.
runs coming off the edge and stuff like that instead of just strafing it, just coming down, just making a tackle. And in pass coverage, he need to get more depth on his drop. Like every time he drop into his zone, he stops like about a yard or two short where he's supposed to be at, and I'm giving him a big catch. Whereas if he just go to exactly where he be at, he'll get an interception, like he did against the Steelers and Bengals. Like Queen could have easily had like 7 interceptions. Just he dropped both 3, and the other 4 it just was him not getting enough depth on his drop. But yeah, he said they are the hardest soul of the team as of right now. But like you said, them blitzing Roquan and blitzing Queen, that has been a little success for us. But overall, I think they're going to do what they're supposed to do.
Okay, well, that's Queen in coverage. Just his awareness behind him is still not where I'd like it to be, and I love the steps forward that Queen has taken this year. The symbiotic relationship he seems to have with Roquan is tremendous, and he had some of that with Josh Bynes last year when he had a spurt of good play in the middle of the year, but at some point, he either has to be the guy in Baltimore, or I think they have to move on from him after year 5. I'm sure they'll give him the 5th-year option, but then I think they might have to move on from him if they're going to stay with Roquan because they can't spend all the money at that position.
Agreed. Then you got guys like Malik Harrison that's right there that can fill in stuff for cheap. So yeah, I agree. Um, the secondary, just your expectations of them heading to the postseason. We're a little thin there. No Marcus Peters, Jalen Armand Davis is on IR. A couple safeties are a little nicked up. So just give me your thoughts on the secondary heading into the postseason.
Uh, Very good at three positions. I'm very comfortable with Clark, very comfortable with Williams, very comfortable with Humphrey. I think that other teams have started to exploit who Hamilton is in the slot, and I really like Hamilton. I think he's, if it weren't for him, this team might have fallen apart defensively in the second half, even though, without a slot corner. They tried everything. A whole bunch of things didn't work in terms of putting Pepe there, trying Jalen Armour Davis on the outside, moving Humphrey into the slot, and using Brandon Williams in the outside and moving Humphrey into the slot. None of those things worked or optimized the situation at all. So they finally went to a guy who has non-optimal slot cornerback skills, but can still provide you value in different ways from slot corner. And I've been very happy with it. But Brandon Stevens had a really good game, two, in fact, in a row now against the Steelers and the Falcons, where I think that he's a guy who they really have to get something out of that in the playoffs if they're gonna keep pace with teams like the Bengals or the Chiefs or whoever else is throwing the football, the Bills. They're going to need to get a big postseason out of him if they're going to be there. And Peters will be hopefully back on the field at that outside spot. But that may also mean that they go back to Brandon Stevens replacing Humphrey at right corner with Humphrey moving back to the slot. They may do that. I'm not sure exactly how they'll play it if Stevens continues to play well this week, for example.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, kid. Cal Hamilton has gotten better each week. At the beginning of the year, especially the Miami games lost, him and Jalen Armand Davis, two rookies, they didn't no bad communication. So Tyreek Hill ended up just running past them for 60 and 70-yard touchdowns. But after that, the secondary gradually got better. Like I said, more playing experience for Cal Hamilton has helped him a lot. Now he's moving around in slot corners, playing a nickel linebacker, and he's playing deep at times. So he's getting more comfortable. And Chuck Clark, the savvy vet, wears the green dot. He's all over the place, coming up, breaking up passes, coming down, making tackles. He hasn't had an interception yet, so a lot of people are like, oh, he's not taking the ball away. But everybody else is. Marcus Williams has about 5, 6 interceptions with missing 4 or 5 games. So he could be leading the league right now. Marlon Humphrey has been playing stellar. Outside of George Pickens getting a couple big catches on, which is going to happen. This is the NFL, so you're gonna lose some battles. But other than that, he hasn't given up a touchdown. Peters, like I said, hopefully he can come back and be relatively healthy because he's going to help us out a lot. Now you can move Marlon, move him to the slot, move him around and match up with different guys. Brandon Stevens has gotten a little better. I still worry about him being handsies at the
Mm-hmm.
top, at the top of his receivers routes. So he's been getting called a little bit with that, and I want to see more out of Demarion Pepe Williams. But I felt like we should have grabbed the corner before the trade deadline. Pick somebody up or trade it for a veteran that's on the team that's not competing because it's just our depth there. They always say we got good depth there, which you start off with. And then, as you know, Ken, during the year, we're now in the three corners because they got hurt, or et cetera, et cetera. So it's that position has always been like a up and down situation for us. So I
Right.
think if Peters come back and healthy, I think we'll be a solid group.
Yeah, I certainly hope so, and I think they'll start the playoffs. I do think they're going to start with Hamilton still at slot corner, but depending on how that goes, I think we could see Humphrey moving back to the slot with Stevens on the outside. It's a difficult situation to deal with. One of the things that kind of restricts their options where they have good players is having two inside linebackers they want on the field for every play. So that makes them a committed nickel team. It means that they're the only real defense they have for pass plays is some form of nickel. Now they've taken Queen was off the field for 4 snaps this last week, but they don't really play a dime back anymore. Dime back replaces your weak side linebacker on a passing down as your sixth defensive back. Hamilton would be okay with that. Clark has already been great at that in his career, so I'd put him back there and put Hamilton on the back end as part of cover two. And the other guy who we seem to have forgotten about in the secondary, but had a great year, is Geno Stone. I don't know what this team would have done without him replacing Marcus Williams for the weeks he was out.
Yeah, he played pretty well. Yeah, he definitely, was coming up in the run game, making tackles. Had his hands on a couple balls. He didn't, he dropped it, but he was in his right spot. He got to his landmarks. He wasn't cheating.
Mm-hmm.
You know, beat over the top. So yeah, I definitely Gino has been a good utility player for us. We're gonna wrap it up with special teams, and we'll let you go, Ken. And I know you got some things going on later on with the Mrs. Just give me your thoughts on special teams just hitting into the playoff. We know Justin Tucker is a god, but as of late, field goals have been getting blocked and et cetera and stuff like that. So just give me just your thoughts on that unit heading into the postseason.
No, they're asking a lot of Tucker in terms of the distance they're asking him to make kicks for, and they're leaning on him very heavily. And longer kicks tend to be lower kicks. Lower kicks tend to be more likely to be blocked. And I'm not really concerned about his field goal percentage this year being as low as it's been, but I would like to see the Ravens rely on him less by converting a few more red zone opportunities and converting some of these 57-yard kicks into 43-yard kicks, so they don't have to be line drives. It's an unfortunate situation. Let me go through the rest of the special teams real quick while we're doing it.
Sure, sure. Why not? Why
Okay. So I think we've seen improvement from Stout, but we need to see something from him in terms of the in 10 capabilities we saw from college. During his last year at college, on punts between the 30s, he had 53% of his punts ended up in 10. That's remarkable. Obviously, that has not continued at the NFL level. We've seen the big foot at times, but we haven't really seen the kind of Cook foot where he could deaden the ball inside the 10-yard line. We really need to see more of that. And it's good to see Justice Hill return a kick the way he did without Duvernay. He's important in terms of the playoffs. I don't know what they'll get out of the punt return game. I think it's been Prochet returning recently, right? He's been yeah. So don't know what they'll get exactly out of that, but they need to get something out of special teams. The funny thing is, and I'd like to get your opinion on this, Justin, but they go into this postseason a team that really wants to run the ball and can't pass the ball, it appears. If that's the case and Lamar can't play in the postseason, my feeling they'd be better off going to a place like Buffalo or Kansas City and playing in a snow game, which would really force it to be a run game for both sides, take the pass away from both teams, even though they'd lose one of their big assets in Tucker being able to make long field goals if there's a lot of wind.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Cause like it's like one of those styles make matchups type thing, and the weather would play into our hand because we're one of the best rushing teams in the league. Teams like the Chiefs and Bills don't run the football as much with them. So it'll definitely play into our favor. But like you just said, now we got to ask Justin Tucker to nail a field goal and harsh conditions. That could be an issue. Like we seen, 2 years ago when we went up to Buffalo, it was windy.
Mm-hmm.
The game 17-3, we know them all through the pick six. But if Tucker nails them field goals because of the win, it's a whole different ball game. It was
Yep.
at least about 9 points, I want to say, Kenneth, correct me if I'm wrong, that we could have had extra on the scoreboard, due to the win.
Yeah, that game was a big windy game. The year before in Buffalo during the regular season, also a very windy game that kind of reduced Josh Allen's ability, which I thought helped. The Ravens had it seemingly in hand, but they ended up winning on a final fourth down stop by Marcus Peters. But yeah, those are both good examples. So is that super cold game that you mentioned earlier, the 2009 playoff game against New England. That day was as cold as any as I've ever felt in football, and they ran the ball 52 times. They passed it 10 that day, and it was a great game, a great opportunity to win a playoff game with the strength of the team being the offensive line at that point.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, we can probably have a game like that. I don't know if we can do that every week,
Mm-hmm.
but I think at least this first round we can catch somebody like a Jackson. Like I said, they haven't been in the playoffs in the 5 years. The majority of the guys on that team are gone, so it's basically new bodies. So we can catch them slipping. But then the following round, if we were to win that, it just scares me. Like, can we play that type of style to beat a KC or Buffalo or et cetera, all the high power teams? That would be my concern. But like overall, special teams has been pretty good outside of a couple blocks and stuff like that. Like we got the big return from Justice Hill, and then we can't get 10 yards to get in
Yep.
field range. If we get 3 points, if Pickett goes down and throw that touchdown, we can come back and kick a game winner like we did against Cincinnati. So it was just like they're doing their and they're holding their end in the bargain. Like James Prochet, I like him. I don't think he need to return punts. He doesn't have the wiggle. I'll honestly, I think it should be Deshaun Jackson or Andy Isabella, somebody with a little bit more speed and a little bit more pop that can bust it open. Because field position is going to be critical, especially with the lack of productivity coming from the offense. So we're going to need good returns to set them up on a short field.
These are both good choices in terms of having a dangerous return man. I like that.
Yeah, because somebody got some speed. Like Prochet is a good guy, but he don't have to wiggle.
Love to see it. Deshaun Jackson is the one who returned the punt against the Giants to have them lose a game, right?
Yeah. That was 2010.
Yeah.
Picked it up. Yeah, that was yeah. So he has experience with that. So I think that gives us a little field position is going to be key moving into the playoff. We got 'cause like I said, we don't have an offense that can just move up and down the field and score points. Well,
Yep.
thank you, Ken, man. This has been fun, man. We'll definitely do this again. I want to definitely come on you guys' show and bless my presence there. Y'all can go check Ken out. Like I say, he's on Twitter. Film Study Ravens. You have a YouTube channel, Ken?
I do have a YouTube channel, but we don't put all our shows out on YouTube like you do. We're primarily a podcast.
Okay, yeah, we definitely go check those guys out. I believe they're on Apple and all that stuff like that. So they good football content, man. So thanks again, Ken, man. Anything you want to say before we wrap it up?
No, good, Justin. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate the opportunity, and always fun to talk football.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, Ken. So y'all can check this out. Like I said, if you weren't watching live, the playback on YouTube, and then like I said, all the audio version is in the description. Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, everything's listed for you. So go ahead and check that out. Everyone have an amazing, amazing Thursday. Like I said, continue to keep the Hamlin family and the Bills family in your prayers. Like I said, we're getting some good updates. We'll just keep the good thoughts and good spirits going on. So that's it for episode 26 from your host, Justin P., and my co host, Mr. Ken Mckusick. So, how do you pronounce your name, Ken? I want to make sure I say it right.
McCusick.
Mckusick. Okay. Yeah, so you guys be blessed. Have an amazing Thursday. Make sure you guys trade. That means talking to Ravens all day, every day. Love you guys, and I talk to you guys Tuesday. Do a recap of Week 18 and a preview of the first round wild card. Love y'all. Be safe, and I'm out.